Hi, everybody. Welcome to Inside Futsal's coverage of UEFA Euro 2022. And joining us is a guest I have been waiting all tournament long to get. The man over at QuattroZero, one of the best, absolute best futsal podcasts on the planet, Valerio Scalabrelli. I know I got that right this time. Valerio,
Yeah, you
welcome to
got
the
it
show,
right.
my friend. How are
You
things
got
out in Italy?
it perfect. Thank you very much, Kris, for inviting me to this show. Really, I'm truly excited, truly honored to be here.
Well, I've been waiting a while for it out there. For those who don't know, Valerio is on Twitter. You can get his name online very easily, and you got to check out QuattroZero, like I said. But this man is information overload, and that's always a good thing here on Inside Futsal and for the futsal community. And today is a day off. This is Wednesday afternoon. We went through some
I mean,
amazing quarterfinal matches out there.
it
And
has been a marathon so far.
it's been an amazing tournament.
The
This might be the
Euros
best
and the Copa
Euros.
America is
Well,
really.
let me ask you. The Copa America, I have to catch up on out there with all of, actually, it was your help in helping me and everyone else find where to follow the games, how to watch the games. If you wanted to see it in Spanish, Portuguese, English, oh, it's been fantastic. I still got to do some catch up today in watching the games. My beloved Ecuador and some friends in Colombia are saying, hey, let us know how you enjoy it out there. But I got to be honest, we're in the middle of this Euro, my friend, and we were talking about the quarterfinals. Uh, let's get right down to the Portugal Finland game, the first game on Monday that happened. You know, coming into the match, Portugal are heavy favorites,
Yeah.
European champions, world champions. It was national team of the year at the Futsal Awards. I mean, they cleaned up. But we saw what was going on with Finland, this emerging team hidden up in Scandinavia, near the Baltics. World Cup qualifications, Finland were actually beating Portugal 2-0 during qualifying. They beat Spain in 2019. They caused Italy more than a few headaches getting over into qualifying. And now, in their first ever appearance at a major international tournament here, they make the quarterfinals. What did you think of this wild game?
Well, I believe that the reason why Finland has reached this eight and has never done before, they never did before, is because they the FA did something that some other emerging nations FAs are still not doing. So what is that? Importing teachers more than students. Mico Martic, let's talk about him. Let's talk about the hero of Finland, the Finland's hero. Mico Martic highlighted the importance of teachers in a sport where too much reliance is still placed on students' self-management. What I'm talking about, and who are the students? The students are the, let's say, Brazilian-born players imported by nations such as Georgia, let's say, but also Italy and all the Azerbaijan, all the countries where there is no culture of futsal. There's not a strong culture of futsal, and I believe they try to fill the gap with the other nations by importing talents. Importing talents from where? From the country where there is the top culture of the game. So they're so culture advanced, Brazilians that are so culture advanced that they overproduce the amount of athletes for their teams, for the national team, for all their clubs, basically. Finland has decided to put the step their foot in another direction. That is, we don't need to import players. We don't need to import students. We need to import a teacher, someone who knows the game, who can recognize talent, who can recognize potential, who can develop our own potential. We don't want, probably Finland has never decided to compete against Spain, Portugal, and Brazil, has never been their aim, their goal, but they decided to create this new path, created this interesting way of growing culture, of growing a culture, of developing a team that could compete against the very best, and among others in the continent. And they did it. They did it very well. Mico Martic, has completely changed not just the attitude of Finland, but the identity, because he gave the deserved space in the world to players such as Pauna Utio. I hope I pronounced it well.
I think that's how I was going to do it too. And he just retired after this game, 16 seasons, captain, 100 goals in the Finnish jersey. He's one of my favorite players to watch in this tournament with a lot of heart. But I want you to continue your point about changing the identity.
Yeah, he changed the Finnish identity because he has been called to be in charge of a team that most commonly was the classic Nordic national team. They are really strong, physically strong, but tactically not so comfortable, let's say, not so prepared. He gave a tactic preparation to the Finland's national team. He gave also, he highlighted many players, many protagonists, many actors. He gave them the right space in not just in the national team, but even on, how can I say, on important major events. So not just in the country, but even outside, even in the continent, in those continental events such as the World Cup qualifiers, the European Championship, European qualifiers as well. So he planted the seed for a new Finland. He grew Finland. He grew the Finnish talent with patience, which is really needed. And yeah, we can now see all the fruits that's coming off the tree. And he really did an amazing job. It really is truly amazing what he has done with Finland. And I would like to see him in Italy, to be honest. Who knows if there are clubs that can call him to lead the club to coach in Italy, because we really need a coach like him in Italy.
Well, I think you're going to have to get in line, because that is going to be one of the hottest coaches in the free agency market. I think there's going to be a lot of national teams and a lot of clubs really reaching out to Mico. Whatever he was earning in Finland, I think that price is about to go up a little bit higher for sure. And what he did, everything you said was completely spot on, and you could see it in the Finnish players, and you could see Finnish fans traveling still during the pandemic in a limited capacity arena, and they're still out there coming to support their team. I don't know if you could say before Mico came how many Finnish futsal fans there were. I think there's got to be a lot more now. And ultimately, that team's on the right path because of his legacy out there. And whoever does pick him up next certainly is going to benefit from his experience, his leadership, and his overall ability to take a program and make it become something that they believe they can win. So I'm really excited to see what the future holds for Futsal Planet, Mico Martic.
Kris, the best thing that Mico Martic has done, as proved, it was that futsal is truly inclusive. It's truly an inclusive sport. Anyone can be able to compete at a high level as long as they can adapt to change, to the development, to the mutation of futsal over the years, without distorting the basic qualities, without distorting the basic skills, the natural skills. Let's say it this way. So he changed the identity of Finland, because he said, you don't have to. There are no stereotypes in futsal. He proved that there are no stereotypes in futsal. Stereotypes are just a thing that don't exist. Don't exist in futsal. Should not have space in futsal. And he said that Finland. He proved that Finland, has a lot of talent, unknown, mostly unknown, but he proved them. He proved everyone on the planet that any nation can grow their talent, their local talents, and can compete at high level.
No question about it. And I mean, going back to this specific game out there, I mean, we saw obviously number one, Mico cracked 100 games in his career
Yeah.
in the final group stage match. So I mean, to crack the century mark, and we saw that jersey online that the federation gave him. That was a nice touch. But with Portugal, moving on to the guys who advanced, with that 3-2 victory, we saw big performances. From Adolfo Jesus, who, had 2 goals, was, very mature, found himself open. We saw another beautiful move, by Hosio over on Finland, where he just kind of, made that subtle move behind the goalkeeper and then just chested it in. It was a nice goal. Andre Souza wishes he had that one back. But I was quite impressed with both Miguel Angelo, but also with Fabio Cecilio. And Fabio, obviously, a veteran defender out there, plays over at Braga. Who were the standout players for you in this game, particularly for the winning side?
Well, Afonso Jesus, Pani Varela, but everyone has been useful for achieving what they aimed. So achieving the semifinals. Everyone. The point is that Kris is this. Jorge Bras is the head of a phenomenal team. He's representing a movement that has grown wonderfully in recent years, and is capable. This movement, the Portuguese movement, has proved to be capable of producing athletes of excellent quality and who know how to make the difference at a young age. So you mentioned Afonso Jesus. How could we not mention Zigite? Zigite it stands above all. Zigite it's a phenomenal pivot. It's a concentration. It's a mix of physicality and dynamism that make him really stand out at a very young age. He's 21 and has won anything. Has won any trophy. He has won the Champions League with Sporting Portugal, with Sporting Club de Portugal. He has won the Taça da Liga. He has won the Liga Placard. He has won the World Cup with Portugal. He probably just the Euros are missing on his list. Probably, I don't know, but you can see he represents very well the new generation of Portuguese player. I don't know, to be honest, how much Portugal is investing in their future, in the future of futsal in the country, in terms of competitive performance and qualitative stability. But I really hope that the FA the FPF, the Federação Portuguesa de Futebol, I guess.
Your Portuguese is better than mine.
I try to improve day by day, even with the help with my friends such as João Thiago and others, Paula, for example, Maria. They really stand out on Twitter.
No question. Maria and Paula, I've had them.
Tell our audience to check them out on Twitter.
Yeah, you got to check out Paula Ferreira Lobo and Maria Pinto Jorge. And you know what? They've both been on the show in the past week. You got to check out those episodes on Spotify and YouTube. But you know who I want on the show? You got to get me João Thiago.
Yeah,
you got to message him. That guy's graphics. Every tournament that he's so detailed. He's a professor. I mean, the guy's a student of the game, and I want him on the show. So put in a good word for me. Tell him I'm not that bad of a guy.
Absolutely. I will tell him.
Well, you mentioned Pani in particular, and one thing I've been asking every guest throughout this show, what were your thoughts on the 2021 Futsal Awards that came out about 10 days ago?
I really hoped you would have never asked me this question.
I asked the hard stuff over here, guy.
But no, let's talk about that. Let's talk about that. I believe that futsal is an art, right? It's an art. It's a form of art, and as any form of art, is subject it has different perspectives. Let's say. So there are some people who loves it, some people who tends to be on the opposite side, so maybe decide to not watch futsal anymore. So this happens with futsal. Imagine with the protagonists. Imagine with the actors. So for some people, Pani Varela is the best in the world. For others, it's Ferrao, it's Sid Ferrao. For other guys, just like me, Alex Merlim is the best. Is the real best, even though he has never had the chance. Never had this. Not probably this year, the last year, he didn't have the chance to compete on a world stage with Italy.
And that hurt him, I think, in the
Considering,
voting. I know it hurt him with me, even though I know his work at the club level is easily top 5. There's no
phenomenal.
taking that away at all. So, but it was the lack of a World Cup that hurt him.
Yeah, the thing that impresses me the most about Alex Merlim is his feint, his move, his dribbling, which is he does the same move every time, and every time the defender does not know where he goes. Every time he does the same exact move. So he tries to carry the ball, he carries the ball, he waits for the opponent, then switches immediately, suddenly, to the left or to the right, and he kicks it. But the defender does not know what to do, basically.
It's funny you mentioned that because your paisan over there, Emanuele Riso, another guy everyone should be following on social media, he made a beautiful analogy. Me and Steve Harris from Futsal Japan were talking about it when he was describing Robinho over in Russia, and he's like the magician that shows you how the trick is done, and yet he still fools you. And that's the kind of same thing that Alex Merlin does when he's playing it out. I love that analogy. And so you guys are so philosophical over in Italy. I love the way you guys describe these things. So keep going.
Yeah, they are You said it all. They are unique players, one of a kind. But I believe that this kind of players can be cloned. Let's say. You probably cannot clone a guy like a player like Alex Merlim or a player like Robinho, but you can teach the new generation of players how to be like them, to get closer. So to play one-on-one in isolation, to play in a one-on-one on the right side or the left side, and to immediately switch the pace, like Alex Merlim. You can play, I don't know, there are other unique players right now, like Sergio Lozano, for example. So you can teach a player not to be like Sergio Lozano, but to learn how to stay on the field like him. These are qualities that, yes, are unique, are absolutely unique. These players are unique, but you can still teach them, this new generation of players, how to perform like them, how to learn how to stay on the field like them.
Well, let me ask you, who did you vote for in your top 5? Who would you have? I'm going with it. I'm getting all the milk out of this cow, my friend.
If you give me a little bit of time, I can search for my votes. We can talk about them. But
yeah, you can look it up. Don't worry, it's no
really
sweat. Yeah, no, it's good stuff. Right. I mean, I had a Paula on, and Paula's like, I go through all 91 votes out there. I'm like, you are the most hardcore futsal journalist in the world if you're going through all 91 out there. And one thing's for sure, though, she needs a vote for next year. So I think we both need to eventually write to Luca and say, hey, here's some females that need to get on the ballot, especially since Futsal Planet did an amazing job in increasing the amount of awards for women's futsal, which we want to see more of. So now the next thing, we got to get female voters. I mean, we just can't have the men voting on it.
Absolutely. There are too many men. I mean, there are no women's. That's the point. There are no women.
There's 91.
Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of professionals, journalists, opinion makers that are women, follow the game, and are even well prepared. More than, in some cases, more than many of us. For example,
more than me. I'll put Maria and Paula ahead of me on the voting
Paula
list.
Neus, for example. Carla, there are many women that deserve to be to be in the same place of ours.
How about this
Same
as an
place.
idea? You have 91 right now, all men. Add 9 more, make it an even 100 for next year. Those 9, all women.
Well, this could
As a
be
start.
yeah, this could be an idea. Maybe also a 50-50 format for the awards. The 50% of men, 50% of women.
You know what? It'd be interesting to see the breakdown of it. I know that there's obviously a lot more, men journalists and people involved in futsal that are male. I mean, we don't even have a women's futsal World Cup yet. We don't
Yeah.
even have a team here in Canada or the United States. And we know England doesn't have any teams. That's a dig. And so
Yeah.
Australia, same thing. Yeah, no, I'm
Topic.
serious. I'm
Still,
serious about England because we have a lot of people listening from England, and
yes.
they need all the support they can get from the futsal community because it's a great futsal country with potential, but they're just not being supported by their federation. And we're happy to see other federations doing investing. Morocco, Brazil now stepping up with CBF. The Russian Federation obviously doing what they can. The Royal Federation in Spain, putting an emphasis on there's a lot. So, we just need to see more women's futsal. And every episode I've mentioned it. If it grows tired on some people's ears, too bad. Let's do something about it. And then I'll stop talking about investing in the women's game. And that's not going to happen until the day I die because, well, I have 2 nieces that play futsal and I was raised by my grandmother and my mother. So for me, it's important to, back up the women on the court and off the court as well. And that leads me to my next question. I guess, well, do you have your votes up yet?
Yeah.
Before you answer them,
Right here.
how do you think at the end of history, people are going to look back on the 8 Player of the Year awards that Amangina has achieved by the age of 26? Where does that fall in to the history of awards in the sport and even just in even bringing football into it? Because Messi and Ronaldo never did it. Falcao and Ricardinho never hits 7, let alone 8. And this girl's 26 years old.
Well, I believe that in 10, 20 years, when they will look back to what we voted, what we witnessed also, I'm sure they will recognize the amount of talent we were able to watch, to be really to live in first person. Because it's really hard to decide who is the best in the world. It's really hard. It's a hard choice. It's not easy for anybody. So I can feel anybody who has not voted for Ferrao, seeing Ferrao winning again, when probably some others deserve more to be on the top place, But it's really hard to choose because there are different views, different perspectives. Probably some people didn't watch all the games, and some other people probably tend to try to be more the patriotic, let's say,
They
right?
have rose-colored glasses.
It's kind of it's something personal. Let's say it this way. It's something personal. You decide to vote who you consider the best. And if you prefer Ferrao over Pani, it shouldn't create a hot discussion, or it shouldn't create a rivalry between
No,
fans. I hope it will never happen, to be honest, because we should recognize that they are all top talents. I mean, I got the candidates, the nominees here: Merlim, Ferrao, Pito, Eric, Pani. They're all great players. They're all great. In all the things they do in every match they play. They're all great. So it's not easy. It's not easy. I
it's good
respect
to have them
everyone who voted
recognized.
for Ferrao. But I respect everyone who voted for Ferrao, but I voted for Pani Varela because I consider him the really top talent at the moment, the top player.
I think everybody that's been on the show has agreed with Pani as the top this year. But it's something where Fahau has built a brand for himself, where people are looking at him as the next, or the new. I should say not the next. He's won 3 awards already. He is the new Falcao, the new Ricardinho, and ultimately I think it's something where it's good to brand our superstars. The one difficult thing about futsal is that there's just so much of it now that it's difficult to watch. For me, it's difficult to watch the Italian first division because we don't get it in Canada. We don't get the Russian league. So we try to find the highlights. We try to read the statistics. People will try to share live, feeds of games in different countries, but you can only watch so much in between full-time work and free time and spending it with the family. So, it's something to take the serious time. When the awards come out, I take a lot of time to really go through a lot of the numbers. I try to watch as many, footage of big games as possible. And ultimately, I think most people are voting on performance as well as victories and how big those victories are. I mean, for me, I got a lot of, stick, as we like to say, from my friends in Brazil. They're like, how did you not vote for Falcao in your top 5? And I said, well, I put Rodrigo instead over for Magnus because of his impact on the national team as well as at the club. And for me, obviously, I put Pani first, but I also was a very big fan of Pito. Anytime that guy steps on the court, people don't realize he changes the game in the snap of a finger. He is so intimidating and so fast and physical, and he goes where the ball is going, not where it's been. And his intelligence, I put him in there because of it as well. But with the Manginha, it was just to see 8 consecutive awards. I mean, what can you say about this girl? Now she's over in Spain, really going to test herself in the top flight out there. What can you say about the superstar in the female game?
There is a huge problem, Kris. There are so many talented players, but on the other hand, there is not so easy to follow all the games, even because not all the games are streamed, not all the games are visible, not all the talents are shown to a wide audience. That's the main problem with female futsal. Female futsal exists, but we don't know. We are not aware of it. We cannot say the same thing of all the fans, the real fans that are following the game. I mean, men's futsal is everywhere for us, of course, not for the worldwide audience, not for the sports audience, so the global audience. But for the futsal community, men's futsal is well known. We cannot say the same for female futsal, and that's a huge problem. There is the gender gap between men's futsal and female futsal and women's futsal that needs to be fixed. Let's say, how? Give more visibility to women, give more chances to female professionals, to female journalists, to talk about not just women's futsal but also men's futsal. Even if it's most important to talk first about women's futsal, because this game, they deserve to be put into the spotlight as much as the men's game. And the reason why Amandinhas won once again is because probably most of the voters are not sure who to choose to about among all the candidates. And I can feel it. I mean, I was talking about with Emanuele, and we were wondering who is the real best in the females game. We decided. I don't remember who I voted, to be honest.
Yeah, probably someone from Varela. Yeah,
I can bring into this episode my votes. I voted for Peke, then for Emily Marcondes, then for Luana de Moura, then for Janice, then for Renatinha. Why? Because I watched them. I didn't vote for Amandinha because I have never been able to watch Amandinha play. That's the thing that we are missing. A ton of possibilities for female futsal. I didn't vote for Amandinha because I never watched Amandinha. There's nobody talking about Amandinha playing the game. There's a lot of hype around her. Now that she's in Spain, I can watch more of her, absolutely. But all the times she has been in Brazil, nobody told to me about the Brazilian league, the Brazilian women's league. Who knows about it? Who is the journalist in charge of promoting? Who's the I don't know, let's say social media strategists or the people in charge of promoting the league and promoting the game. That's the whole point.
Yeah, we're definitely needing more. We need more media, period, covering the game.
Absolutely.
And the way to do that is to have superstars build, and media is a part of building them as well. But the onus is on the leagues and the clubs to do it. And you said social media is a massive component of that strategy, and you actually happen to be a very well-renowned European social media strategist with experience around the world. So what would you recommend, in your professional opinion, that clubs and leagues do to promote their players and kind of create superstars in the sport of futsal?
Be more on social media. I mean, you're talking to a social media strategist, and social media is the new media. Has gained a lot of attention, interest, involvement, and is growing day by day, month by month, and is really taking a lot of field. It's gaining a lot of field in comparison with trad media. The younger generation are not watching TV anymore. They're more on social media, more on TikTok, for example, more on Twitter, more on, I don't know, Instagram as well, YouTube, not on TV. They are not watching, I don't know, which is your channel, CBC, am I wrong?
Yep, that's one of them.
Exactly. I don't know how many kids watch, not kids, let's say the teenagers watch CBC or other TV channels, but there are a lot of Twitch. They are spending a lot of time on Twitter, on TikTok. That's for sure. So if we want to build a community, a strong community, an inclusive community, and if we really want to let the female game be known around the world, we need to invest in social media. We need to invest also in a growing participation, physical, so active participation. We need to invest in the youth academies, so in female youth academies, not just in male youth academies. So we really need this balance between offline and online. So online, social media. Offline, youth academies. This is how you grow interest. This is how you attract not just new players, but also new fans.
You have to create the desire with the fans, especially
Absolutely.
for a sport. I've always believed that if people taste the futsal soup, they love the flavor. And it's one of those things that, you can't watch the sport and legitimately and honestly say that it's not entertaining. It's more exciting than football. I don't care who tries to argue with me. You have more goals, more saves, more fancy moves. It's just great. The sound of the arena, it sounds like you're in the Colosseum, from, ancient Rome times. And it's something that people, once they get a taste of it, they love it and they want more of it. But I think we really need to build more stars. And I think you're absolutely right that a lot of the votes did probably go to Amandinha because it's the only female futsal player they know. And you don't have certain access to the Spanish league or the Italian league or what's happening in Russia or Ukraine. And I mean, I don't get to watch them.
I'm not against who voted for Amandinha.
Oh, not at all. I mean,
I recognize the problem with female futsal. We don't know anything about female futsal. There are just a few people, just a few professionals who discuss about female futsal, but the amount of male futsal discussions and female futsal discussions are incredibly different.
Yeah, no, that's 100%. I'd like to actually have an episode or a series dedicated specifically to female futsal and speak to experts who watch the games on a weekly basis, people who are the commentators of these matches. and there's not a lot of them that speak English, so I'd probably have to do some translation on it. But it's something that needs more attention, and I'm going to be paying a lot more attention to the Spanish league in particular this year, primarily because of Mangini's there. It's like if Michael Jordan went to play in a different country, or when
Europe.
Ronaldo went to play in Juventus, everyone all of a sudden is following Juventus. Messi goes to PSG. People who didn't even care about football that were living in France, and particularly in Paris, starting to follow it. So this has got to be a similar pathway, I think, to make that happen. So, interesting thoughts moving forward on it. Well, let's move on from the Futsal Awards, because I know we could do a whole episode with a whole bunch of people on that. We talked about, Portugal, Finland going forward, or Portugal going ahead of Finland on that. And they're going to be playing in the semifinals someone very familiar to them. Spain over Slovakia. Spain advanced very dominant, coming off a huge win against Georgia in their final group stage match. I think they won, 8-0, and then they beat Slovakia 5-1 yesterday. Spain and Portugal in the semifinals. I mean, we saw them at the World Cup. It went, one of the most significant games out there. We saw them at Euro 2018. They've played each other probably just as many times as two countries can possibly play each other in this sport. What can we expect, and what do you think is going to happen in this particular match?
Okay, well, to be honest, I didn't watch the match against Slovakia, but the highlights were enough, and all the games played by Spain were enough to convince me that Spain is going back to being the war machine we all have always known. Fede Vidal is managing to find the right place with his man. He's managing to create a great family. Sergio Lozano is back to his duties. And
is he ever?
The Terminator of futsal, Sergio Lozano.
I love that, the Terminator. I love it.
I mean, it seems to be more splendid, seems to be brighter than ever before.
And he has 100 caps. Did you see that he got the jersey? Well, so Lozano finally got 100 caps.
It's pure gold. Any of his jerseys are pure gold, but the last one probably. The more we move on, we go on, we witness his greatness. The more his jerseys are definitely worth the money. Absolutely.
And to hit all of his jerseys after the injury, I mean, how special is it, this player? We talked about him on Saturday with Maria, and it's just, this guy's so special. You know what I mean? We talked a big deal about, Ricardinho coming back from his injury and then winning the World Cup. And you see Lozano with a serious injury finally coming back, earning 100 caps. And now he's on the verge, one more game, and he's in the final of the UEFA Futsal Euro. I mean, it's just such a special story. And Spain, the last two games, 13 goals, 1 goal allowed. This team means business. As you said, the war machine looks to be back. What does Spain have to do to beat Portugal to advance? And what does Portugal need to do to beat Spain once more to get to the final?
This is a really tough question, but I believe that the game changer could really be Lozano, Sergio Lozano. Is the player that Spain missed at the World Cup. Is the kind of player who can really change the dynamics of the game for Spain and against the opponents. It's unpredictable at his age, because he seems younger younger than he proves to be. He really is he still is the leader of not the title favorites, because they are not anymore title favorites as much as Portugal or as much as Russia. Then we will talk about Russia. But Sergio Lozano can really bring Spain to the heights we were used to see them. We always seen them in the past. So I believe that Sergio Lozano is the real game changer for Spain. The confidence around the Fede Vidal way of conceiving futsal is growing, but I still believe that Portugal is the real favorite of the match, because the gradual generational change seems to have not weakened their technical tactical dynamics. Jorge Brasa has already shown to the world that he's really smart, he's really wise, he's managing in the way he's managing the transition, and he's giving each player their own space in the squad. But it's obvious that Spain should not be underestimated. That's the point.
Yeah, no, it's going to be one of those matches where you might as well flip a coin because these teams are so evenly matched and so close, and the rivalry is super strong. You know, for years Spain were dominant and Portugal just couldn't crack that nut. And then we saw what happened at the last European Championships, and then of course at the World Cup, that quarterfinal match. And actually have a game ball from that one. It was a nice little exchange I received out there. So one of my prized possessions was from that Portugal-Spain game. But as you said, there was no Lozano at the time. And I mean, the Portuguese team, it's not new. I mean, most of the team is still here, obviously, because the World Cup was only a couple of months ago. But we're seeing, people really step it up. We're seeing Ziki. He's improved in the last 4 or 5 months in a way I didn't expect him to accelerate. And the kid's 20 years old. And of course,
21
is
he
21 now? Yeah. He finally
probably.
turned 21. Okay, so he's allowed to
I
have.
know he's already 21, but he's
already 21. Okay, so we can have a bottle of beer in the United States finally. Good for him. And so, but he's still so young and able to carry any situation on his back as a pivot. I mean, he's moving in and out constantly, causing teams to double team him at times because he's so long and so fast and talented. But the infusion. When I spoke to George Braz over in Lithuania, I asked him, what was the consistency in the team's performance the last few years, and one of his primary answers was the constant rotation of young kids coming up to take the older veteran spots, and it's very competitive. But everyone is unified together. I think you could make an argument, with obviously Pani, Eric. I mean, there's so many players. Ziki, of course, winning the Young Player of the Year award. There is an argument still to be made that Spain have probably the best individual players, but Portugal are the better sum of their parts. And
Portugal is at their peak.
It's the weirdest thing too, because they're not dominant. Spain, I mean, we saw what happened with Georgia, we saw what happened with Slovakia, and I mean, even in their opener, they won handedly by more than a few goals. But Portugal just find a way to win every single time. They scrap, they claw, they fight, and I mean, they just don't like to lose. And I mean, you have a European and World Cup champion defending team coming in. They certainly have to be favored, but really not by much against such a really wild Spain side.
You know what's the most interesting part of the whole Spanish system, the whole Spain situation? They are so culturally advanced that the worst result they were able to obtain is still better than the one of the average participant. I mean, it's still better than the average of the participants. I'm referring to the elimination of the quarterfinals of the last World Cup. It is a movement, the Spanish one, that really has grown organically, without shortcuts, and has always been able to adapt to the change in futsal over the years. This is truly impressive. You can expect this from a country that lives for futsal as much as for football.
And we remember in the World Cup final, the World Cup quarterfinal with Spain and Portugal, it was a last-second goalpost hit by Spain. Spain would have gone on, and we wouldn't even be talking about Portugal as World Cup champions. Had that goal gone in, except it goes to extra time. Portugal pulls in 2 goals, and the rest is history. But that's the beauty of our sport. It's a matter of millimeters. Forget centimeters. It's so close. The difference between champions and those that are forgotten in the tournament. So, I mean, my heart is with Portugal, but I would not want to be a person making the odds on this game. Taking the favorite. I think you have to lean with Portugal because they're out there. But if you did have to make a prediction, what's the score at the end of the match for you?
My God, this
is
tougher than the ones with me before. The final score, probably Portugal, in extra time. Once again.
So a repeat of the World Cup quarterfinal. There we go. I
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
Portugal 3-2, but I'm not going to be surprised if this one goes to penalties.
Yeah, same score, 3-2, but in extra time.
Yeah,
Yeah,
can't
I
argue
believe
that.
they will give us a hell of a show in the semifinal.
Well, no question
Yeah,
about that.
I'm
All I
sure.
know,
I'm totally sure about that.
well, it's going to be a great game. I can't wait out here. I mean, Friday. It's going to be Friday evening in European time. It's going to be 11:30 Eastern time, so that's New York, Miami, and Toronto time. The game should be kicking off. Might be 11, but I'm pretty sure it's 11:30. But check UEFA.tv if you want to watch the matches for free, at least in Canada. So I'm not sure how it is in Italy, who has the rights, but UEFA TV is doing a great job in showing all the games. You can see the highlights. You can even click if you missed a goal or a yellow card or a red card or anything. You can actually click on the event in the timeline, and it'll actually take you to that highlight. I think it's fantastic. It's such a cool, valuable tool that if you show up late for 15 minutes and you see someone's up 1-0, you get to actually see what happened instead of trying to go on YouTube like we had for years as futsal fans trying to find highlights. Um, you know, but moving on. I mean, we talked about this great Portugal Spain match, but we got something really really special. I mean, we saw what happened with Ukraine and Kazakhstan. We won't go too much into it, but I mean, the Ukraine going against the team that lost on penalties in the World Cup semifinal to the aforementioned Portugal. Kazakhstan were a lot of people's favorites to come in and win this championship this time around, but Ukraine, out of nowhere, they lose their first match to the Netherlands. And everyone thought, okay, the Ukraine's finished. You still have to go through Serbia and you still have to go through Portugal. Ukraine gave Portugal serious, serious problems in their final group stage match. And then they come in and open with 3 unanswered goals against Kazakhstan before, Douglas Jr. rolled it back with an absolute beauty. Orazov got 2 goals in the game. I got to be honest, Ukraine advancing ahead of Kazakhstan, and in the fashion that they did this, um, it's not too big of
And
a
they deserved it.
surprise, but they definitely deserved it. What were your
They definitely deserved
thoughts
it.
on the big Ukrainian win against Kazakhstan?
Well, I believe that Kazakhstan has relied on the same actors that gave them all the glory in the past and all the spotlight they really deserved, from Kakao to Kaká. But I believe they are at the end of their cycle. They need uh, to shift to a new generation of players, because Higita is not eternal. Douglas Jr. is not a bicentenary man. So they really need um, to to change the generation, to change um, to give new players the stage to perform, not at the same level, but to match the expectation of Kazakh's fans. The point is Kazakhstan ready for their generational change? Because generational change is something that will definitely happen. There's no doubt about that. But are they ready? Because the point is, they they shown that they are the end of the cycle of their really glorious um, path to greatness. Kakao started all this movement, this new movement of Kazakh players, and Kaká has led them where nobody really thought they would. Nobody thought they will be. So they fourth place at the World Cup, for example. But Kazakhstan is really at the end of the cycle. It's not something they didn't lose the game against Ukraine for tactical. Yeah, of course, for tactical mistakes, but not because Ukraine is tactically or technically better, individually speaking, but because probably Kazakhstan needs to change now, to go on. So they're facing their transition to a new era of Kazakh futsal. While Ukraine, on the other hand, is the real underdog of the tournament. Their futsal style is so fluid, it is truly enjoyable for anyone taking their first step in our sport. The real strength of Ukraine is the group, and I believe that Alexander Kozenko wanted to put everyone on the same level, the same level of importance. I mean, because he gave anyone the opportunity to express themselves to their full potential. This is really the secret of Ukraine during this tournament, of course.
The last two games has been an eye opener. What they did to Portugal in that first half, Portugal is very fortunate to come out of that game on top of the group with the 1-0 victory. But the way that Ukraine pressed them, and defensively, they were so unified. It was like a machine. And they were very athletic, extremely strong. And then we saw again against Kazakhstan, they took it up another level, which I didn't think they were going to be able to do. We knew it was going to be close. I just didn't expect Ukraine, to dominate the majority of the match in the way that they did. So, Orzhov now, 7 goals in the tournament, top of the Golden Boot race, after only 4 games. You're talking about a reboot. What does Kazakhstan need to do to maintain their status as one of UEFA and world elite in futsal?
Not easy. But I believe that there are some things to change in the country. For example, the league structure, the youth academies. Probably it's too Kairat centered. The league is too Kairat centered. Their futsal, their development is too Kairat centered. And they need to expand the talents in the country. They really need to create more academies, to invest more in futsal academies, more in futsal, in local talents, because Orizov, Turzagorov are really great players. They will still be in the playing. They will still play in the best futsal teams in the continent, no matter what. I'm sure about that. They probably will. Another thing they need in Kazakhstan is their players to go abroad and to play in other leagues, in Italian league, in the Portuguese league, in the Spanish league. They need to embrace new cultures, and by embracing them, to grow, so to understand how other nations are growing, are investing in futsal. This is what they need. This is what any emerging nation needs, to be honest. But they need it especially because really this is what they need to this is what they need to grow, not just to grow, but to establish themselves at the top of the world, let's say.
Yeah, because if they don't keep up the consistency out there, as the old saying goes, it's a long way to the top again. And we saw that with the Ukraine, and now they're back on top in the semifinals, where they are going to face Russia. Could you have imagined? I mean, we could talk about the Russia-Georgia game.
I'm biting my lips not to talk about geopolitical issues that are going on.
Yeah, it's funny. I talked to my friend Nick, who lives over in Russia today, and I'm excited to speak to Kirill, who does a lot of the commentating over in Russia and is a very knowledgeable Russian fanatic. And I got to actually talk to Artem, who was on our episode, I think in episode 3, one of the biggest Ukrainian futsal experts out there, and get the take on what it's like. How many people are going to watch this match in both Russia and Ukraine? What's the clash of styles? Who's going to come out? Because, I mean, Russia versus Georgia, it wasn't that Russia was overly dominant. They were able to dictate the pace of the game. And if it wasn't, for the Georgian goalkeeper, Russia could have won by a lot more goals out there. He had a phenomenal performance. What's it going to mean for the Ukraine to face this Russian team? And I picked Russia to win this tournament at the beginning. I just thought they were phenomenal at the World Cup. I heard really great things and saw some clips of their training leading up to this event, and they're just They look like a juggernaut out there. But they did show signs of a few cracks in the Georgia game. What do you anticipate in this massively important semifinal between Ukraine and Russia?
Okay, let's start by saying that we are entering a geopolitical field. Jokes apart, we can say that futsal is about to experience a historic event in its history, but it's so historical that it's so important that probably is the first time since 2014 that Russia and Ukraine met in a sporting competition, in a sport competition, not just in a futsal one, not just in a UEFA one, but probably in, if we take any sport in the world, probably this is the first time they meet in a major competition. And let us remember that we are talking about human beings before athletes, because they read newspapers, they listen to news, they are
Absolutely.
updated on the facts concerning the respective nations, they observe with their own eyes the changes in the world around them. Who knows? I cannot say how influential the political situation between these two states will affect, uh, how influential this will be in their performance, and in the game. I don't know how the geopolitical situation will affect their their style of play, their futsal. I really do not know. I really hope that they can give life to a unique show, also giving us moments of fair play that we badly need. That's for sure. But the geopolitical situation, the geopolitical background that is giving us the preview to this match is concerning, and we should treat it with being more serious, and be also trying to put futsal first instead of politics. This is
100%.
the chance of a lifetime to put futsal, to put play first before politics. It's
What
something
do
that in football does not happen so much.
I think the one good thing
It's
about,
getting too political, football. I mean,
yeah, there's nothing good about the threat of war or invasion, from the political side. There's nothing that good that comes from it. But if there is something
yeah,
that you have to try and find that is a, good thing for futsal, is that it's going to put eyes on the game. It is going to be of interest.
yeah,
Politicians are going to watch. And I think general sporting fans or patriots who may have never watched futsal are going to tune into this and enjoy it. What I would love to see for those people tuning into the sport for the first time and watching it is, I would love to see a show of sportsmanship, an opportunity between Russian players and Ukrainian players, coaching staff on both teams to come together at center court, maybe exchange the badges or flags or something, or hold hands, arms around each other, whatever it is. Just a nice show of sportsmanship, showing solidarity and peace. I'd love to see it. And then after that's done, nothing but pure futsal between two of the top teams, right now in the world. Ukraine is really starting to come through. And Russia, I mean, you'd never discount them. They are former champions in this tournament. They've lost the tournament several times in the silver medal position. But I'm expecting this game to be just as good as that Portugal-Spain semifinal. So
absolutely.
if you did, I was like, if you dude, watching too many American movies. If you had to pick a winner for this Ukraine-Russia match, who are you going with, and for what reasons?
Sergei Skoravich is probably the most debated coach, the most controversial coach in recent history for Russia.
He's
Uh,
so interesting as a guy. I love talking to him through the translator in Lithuania.
I believe it. I believe it. Well, I believe that this can be the right year for them, for Russia. Russia is a laboratory a lab of unparalleled talent. All the players available are capable of breaking the balance. Chiskala, Antoshkin, Niazov, Abramov, anybody can really make the difference
They're
in the
such a
in the
loaded
event
team.
that they're called to. Yeah, we I personally love Artem Antoshkin, but there are a lot of talented players in the Russian team. And the one I admire the most is, of course, is Artem Antoshkin, because physically he does not give the idea of being so versatile and flexible, ductile and dynamic. Yet he knows how to show off a dynamism that, combined with his height, makes him truly uncomfortable for the opponents and a great support for his teammates. He's the real surprise for Russia.
I think he's the real surprise of the tournament. I think he's a golden ball contender. Surely, even if Russia makes the final, Absolutely. He has to be a top 3 nominee. If he doesn't, I still think he's a consideration. I mean, 5 goals throughout the group stage, and then the match against Georgia, he just was allowing everybody to open up. You detailed it absolutely perfectly. I mean, he's been the revelation of this tournament for many, many people.
Absolutely. But on the other hand, even though I will bet on Russia to win the tournament, not just against Ukraine, I will bet on Russia to win the tournament. I believe that it's fascinating how Ukraine has become the prototype of the modern futsal team. I mean, they combine the typical physicality of Eastern European teams, the Eastern European philosophy, with a tactical intelligence and a technical capacity that makes them so unpredictable and also difficult to tame. So yeah, Russia will win, in my opinion, but it won't be so easy. I believe it will be more balanced than everyone is expecting to be.
Yeah, especially
probably a final score. If you can ask me a final score, I will say 2-1, 3-2. Probably also penalties. Anything can happen. This is futsal.
Yeah, I anticipate, Russia's attack. I mean, every time you see them over in the opposing half, they're so fluid, they're so smooth, they're relentless, they're ruthless. They have it could be 5-0, 6-0. They don't quit. They don't take their foot off of the pedal, and I love that in a futsal team. You know that team during training is putting every single ounce of mental and physical energy possible to achieve this goal, and they want to make up for the elimination at the last World Cup by lifting the European Championship this year. So, I mean, I like your score. I like the 2-1 or 3-2. If I did have to lean forward, I'm going to go 3-2. Normally, I would go a little shorter because Ukraine's not a real juggernaut, offensively. But I mean, the 5 goals that they put against Kazakhstan, it really gave you, an opportunity to see what they can do there. So I think I'll go 3-2 Russia in this circumstance. And I'm going to see, hopefully, my prediction of Russia-Portugal in the final is what I'd like to personally see, just so I can say that I was right. But I don't think I can possibly go wrong if it turns out to be a combination of any of these 4 teams. I think the final, no matter who's in it, I think we're in for a real classic UEFA Futsal Euro Championship. Would you agree?
Absolutely. I believe that Russia, whether it would be Russia, Portugal, Ukraine, Spain, it would be a cracking game, fantastic show, 100%. I really agree totally with you.
Well, I can't wait. I mean, the games are this Friday, and here we are Wednesday. I wish the games were a little later on today or even tomorrow. I'm just so hungry to watch more futsal, but that leads to the Copa America. And I got to catch up on some games. I love it. Well, listen, let me ask you. We're over an hour in. I told you the sweet spot was going to be 45 to 50 minutes, but you're so knowledgeable and so fun to listen to. I'm not going to follow any protocols on that out there. But if people need to find out where to hear you, where to listen to the podcast, where do people go on social media to find everything that you're doing and all the great stuff?
You can find me on Twitter mostly. Rio de Valle is my nickname. RIODEVALE. Rio de Valle. And you can also find me on QuattroZero, which you can see it on screen. The podcast, I'm host of this podcast with 4 friends that I found on Twitter. Not joking. Well, to be honest, Simone, I already knew Simone offline, but Fabio, Emanuele, and Davide, all met them on Twitter. So you can find us on Twitter mostly, and also on Spotify. QuattroZero is on Spotify. The podcast is running. So now the new shows, new episodes will be unveiled, and we wanted to have fun. We decided to create QuattroZero to have fun and talk about the game we love.
Well, now let me ask you: is it once a week, once a month? Is it on a certain day? How long's the show?
Well, we decided to do it once a week, but we also have social lives and other tasks. So our own jobs. So probably it's not easy to keep up with the schedule. But we try to launch each episode once a week. We try. All Italian, so no English, all Italian.
That's okay. I got to practice my Italian for when I go over there. It's something that I had my zio lived in Messina for a long time. So I spent a little bit of time in Italy, particularly in Sicilia, not Sicily. I want to make sure that my Canadese is coming up a little bit. But, it's something where, you guys are putting a great show together. And, once a week, you got some of the best guests out there in the world. Ladies and gentlemen, Valerio Scalabrelli from QuattroZero, an authority, absolute authority on Italian futsal, but also on this European Championship that we're following every single day here on Inside Futsal, and of course all around the world. There's a reason why this man is in demand. So, Valerio, thank you for joining me, and you're coming back sooner than later on the show, right?
Kris, I want to say to you in Italian, grazie mille per avermi invitato e
Prego.
un saluto a tutti. Thank you very much, Kris.
Thank you. And once again, follow QuattroZero and Valerio Scalabrelli. We'll see you guys tomorrow as we have another guest coming in over there that actually was a part, other book over here, Valerio was a part of out here. So we'll talk to Jamie tomorrow and talk a little bit about that beautiful book that he wrote. And we'll make sure to mention Valerio's name tomorrow. Till then, this is Inside Futsal, episode number 9 with the UEFA Futsal Euro Championships. Have a great day.